What's up guys, welcome to the video. I'm Jackson Pios, PhD and sports nutritionist, and in this one I'm going to review the diets of popular characters in anime. First we start with Luffy from the One Piece franchise. To describe Luffy's diet in one word, it would be meat. He's seen slamming down various types of chunky proteins and occasionally holding a drumstick bigger than his head. Luffy loves meat so much that it's shown to wake him up from being unconscious. While most of his diet is centered around meat, he's not keto or carnivore, as he is seen eating lots of carbohydrates as well, things like potato and bread. What we rarely see Luffy eating is fruits and veggies. I mean, apart from eating the occasional devil fruit, I can't recall ever seeing him eat them. Luffy's diet is therefore a super high protein and moderate carb diet with high fats as a result of most of his protein sources looking to be things like pork and beef. On review, I would suggest Luffy is eating too much protein for his size. Research tells us that only around 2 grams of protein per kilogram of our body weight is needed, and anything more than that really doesn't do much helpful. I would also suggest Luffy should increase his intake of fruits and veggies to around 3 to 5 servings per day to ensure his digestion is optimized and he's minimizing any risk of being deficient in any micronutrients. It's interesting that Luffy is so skinny despite consuming all these proteins and carbs in his diet. Possible that Luffy has such a high metabolic rate and activity level that he just burns through all these calories, or perhaps he's a hard gainer and would need some regular weights training to increase his muscle size. Next up, we have Naruto. You can probably guess where this is heading. Yep, ramen. Naruto is obsessed with ramen, with his specialty order, a tonkotsu ramen with extra pork. He prefers to have his ramen at Ichiraku, but early on in the series we see that most of his diet at home looks to be things like cup ramen as well. Now, ramen is known to be a very high carb, moderate protein and moderate fat dish, depending on the broth and the toppings that you get given. Given that Naruto goes for extra pork, it's likely that he's getting a nice boost in muscle protein synthesis that can help him recover from his training. However, I don't recommend cup ramen much, as this is typically really high carb and fat with low protein and lacking many of the helpful nutrients from the broth and the toppings of restaurant ramen. Given Naruto's high activity and training level, I don't think the high carb amount in ramen is an issue for him. However, for someone that doesn't train or exercise much, ramen can often contain too many calories that can result in fat gain if consumed often. Next up, we have Sugar Rush from My Hero Academia. I hope you guys are all watching the new season after that disastrous of a shit show of a last season. Sugar Rush consumes high sugar desserts like cupcakes and muffins to activate his quirk, where for every 10 grams of sugar consumed, his strength level increases by 3 times. In a strange way, this kind of makes sense, as consuming sugar before high-intensity efforts, such as battling a villain, is a recommended strategy for athletes to improve performance. Sugar is the quickest digested form of carbohydrate, with carbohydrates being the preferred fuel source for high-intensity training. So by consuming sugar, it means, like Sugar Rush, we can increase our energy levels quickly. However, it's important to know that consuming too much sugar when you're not training can quickly increase your body fat levels. Going back to the Naruto franchise, we have Choji. Choji is a big boy, a thick boy, but don't call him the F word. Most of the time we see Choji eating at least something, whether that's snacking on some potato chips or getting his barbecue on with some yakiniku. Korean and Japanese barbecue usually have an array of meats with side servings of rice and pickled vegetables. Not a bad assortment of foods by any means, and it covers all of our bases for macro and micronutrients. I think the issue for Choji is just that he is eating too much overall. It doesn't matter what foods you eat, even if they're clean foods, consume too much of them and it will create a calorie surplus that leads to fat gain. Another issue with Choji's diet is that he's a big snacker. The research shows that people who snack a lot or graze on foods have a harder time controlling their body fat levels compared to people who have set meal times. Additionally, a lot of his snacks, like the potato chips, often contain trans fats, which are one of the few nutrients that I'd recommend avoiding from a health standpoint. But if you aren't willing to give up your snacks, instead go for better alternatives like protein bars, beef jerky, trail mix, or dried fruit. It would be a shame to discuss Choji's diet without mentioning, of course, the food pills. 3 red, green, and yellow gumball looking things. According to the story, green, a spinach pill, yellow is a curry pill, and the red, a chili pill. I guess sort of like multivitamins. Taking these pills convert the user's body fat into chakra, i.e. energy. Wouldn't that be nice if we could just take a pill and it immediately converted our body fat into energy compared to the usual way, the not so fun way, exercise. The obesity epidemic would be solved in a minute. Now, probably weren't ready for this one. Next up, we have L from Death Note. An interesting diet for an interesting person. L loves his desserts. Cake, chocolate, ice cream, and they always look phenomenal. This would be a fun diet, but not a super healthy one. Low protein, high sugar, high carb, high fat, and low micronutrients. Generally, I suggest having a maximum of 20% of your daily calories coming from these sort of foods, compared to close to 100 in L's case. Then the remainder of your calories should come from nutrient-dense, unprocessed whole foods. Interestingly, glucose, or sugar, is the primary fuel source for the brain. Given L's intellect, perhaps he knew this and was trying to maximize his brain capacity by eating all these treats. Unfortunately, the research shows that only around 120 grams of glucose across the whole day is required for maximum brain capacity, which is very easy to achieve through a balanced diet. Also, keep in mind that L's diet is a dangerous one for hunger management. Sugary foods don't satisfy us much, and research shows that they can actually increase our drive to eat more, and this has a potential to cause us to consume more calories than we need, resulting in fat gain. Next, and a big RIP to the well-known, much-loved potato girl, Sasha Braus from Attack on Titan. Sasha was one of my favorite characters in this show, to be fair, and had me laughing on many occasions. Sasha has an incredible love for all foods and a huge appetite, surprisingly given the dull and bland foods that she is seen eating. She loves food so much that she steals a potato and is caught eating it on her first day as a recruit. This was a hilarious scene. We also see her eating bread often, as well as meat, but not much else. To be fair, under their limitations, i.e. war camp food, this diet covers most of our bases. It's high protein for recovery, and it's high carb to provide the energy for long missions and battles. In an ideal world, she would be consuming some fruits and vegetables, as well as some omega-3 fatty acids along the side. But that's probably not realistic for her. Interestingly, given her famous name, Potato Girl, white potatoes are actually one of the best foods to eat while dieting because they have one of the highest scores on the satiety index. This means per their given calories, they are extremely satisfying and make us less likely to overeat other foods. Now, turning to the Baki franchise, and arguably one of the best physiques we've ever seen in anime, Biscuit Oliva. There's no doubt Oliva is having an absurd amount of calories to maintain his ridiculous size. However, what's more insane is the low level of body fat that he can maintain. I'd love to believe that his physique is attainable through diet and hard training alone, but the reality is he's probably adding a few herbs and spices into this routine, if you get my drift. His size is even more dumbfounding when we see him drinking copious amounts of wine alongside his steaks. Alcohol is a known suppressant of muscle growth, so the more you drink, the harder time you have to build and maintain muscle. Now back to the massive amounts of steak. To be fair, with the amount of muscle he carries, I'm sure he needs to eat an absurd amount of protein just to hold on to that. Additionally, steak is a standout choice for a protein source as it contains a massive array of micronutrients, as well as being loaded with amino acids and leucine, which is an important trigger for muscle growth. Now, it would not be fair to miss Goku off this list. Goku never backs down from a big meal, does he? And it seems like this Saiyan appetite has been with him since childhood, as according to Bulma's calculations, Goku ate 57 full-course meals in one sitting. On face value, this bottomless pit of a stomach would be assumed to make Goku super fat, but it doesn't. Logically, we can only assume that the reason Goku isn't 300 pounds is because his activity output is so high that he burns through this insane number of calories he consumes. To be fair, whenever Goku gets free time, he will train. Even when Chi-Chi wants him to work, he tries to figure out ways to train at the same time, meaning he's constantly demanding energy. We've actually heard similar cases in real life with guys like Michael Phelps, where he supposedly would consume 7,000 calories per day without gaining any fat due to his huge training schedule. Considering that Vegeta, Gohan, and Goten all show massive appetites as well, it's possible that there is a Saiyan genetic component at play also. Or perhaps turning Super Saiyan causes them to burn an insane amount more calories than other characters. Apart from the enormous calorie intake, it's difficult to describe the specifics of Goku's diet. He sort of just eats everything, which is not a bad thing. Balanced diet means you're covering all your macronutrient and micronutrient bases. So you're not deficient in anything and you give your body the best chance to function optimally. We do see some common foods or staples like rice, bread, noodles, and many meats, but it's clear Goku is not a picky eater. One thing to note about Goku's eating habits is that he scoffs down his food like a dog, really. This is really not recommended. Not chewing your food properly or rushing your eating has been shown to cause digestive issues, as well as making you feel less satisfied from your meal. Perhaps that's why Goku struggles to feel full, because he's inhaling his food without taking many bites. That's a wrap for today's reaction video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and please drop down any recommendations for other anime reactions you'd like me to do. Appreciate you guys lasting until the end. See you in the next one.